Hey everyone, and welcome. In a world that feels more and more chaotic, it's easy to feel a little lost, right? So, how do we find our footing? Well, today we're diving into the pretty unique philosophy of an author named Xuefeng. He offers this radical blueprint for not just navigating life, but for achieving what he calls total freedom. So, Xuefeng kicks things off with this really powerful idea. He's basically saying that when everything out there feels like a mess, when you can't tell which way is up, the single most important thing you can do is get back to the absolute basics of how you live your life. It's kind of like your anchor in a storm.
But here is where he makes a really crucial distinction. See, this isn't about being a good person, just so people will praise you or so you can get ahead. Nope. The goal is way, way deeper than that. It's about living with a real sense of dignity and inner peace, no matter what's going on around you.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Well, the author lays out a whole set of foundational principles for how we should act. You can almost think of them as a practical guide, like an owner's manual for living a life that has real substance and integrity. Now, Su Feng gets into dozens of specific rules, but you'll find they all kind of boil down to these three core pillars. First up is unbreakable integrity. Basically, your word is everything. Then there's deep gratitude for every single bit of help you've ever gotten. And third, unwavering respect for other people, for their privacy, and especially for those who are vulnerable. And he is absolutely serious about this one. He actually calls keeping your promises the first duty of being a person. He argues that breaking your word just one time can mess up your life in a way that's almost impossible to ever fully fix. It's really the bedrock of everything else he talks about. Another huge principle for him is all about compassion. And listen, this isn't just some polite suggestion. For Zhifeng, it's a fundamental rule. He believes your true strength shows up in how you treat people with less power than you, not in how you can dominate them. And this one, wow, it feels so relevant today, doesn't it? The author is so emphatic about respecting people's personal boundaries. No snooping, no gossiping, no prying into their private lives. He sees that kind of respect as absolutely essential if we're ever going to have harmony in our lives. But here's the thing. Just following these rules isn't the final goal. It's actually just the foundation. It's what prepares you to see the world in a completely new way. From here, Zhufeng points us toward a much deeper kind of wisdom. He says we have to learn how to read what he calls the wordless book. So what on earth is the wordless book? Well, it's this beautiful metaphor for reality itself. It's the wisdom you get just from watching the seasons change, or observing how people behave, or understanding the deep patterns of life. And his point is really profound. People can lie. Books can lie. But the fundamental laws of the universe, they just can't. And Xu frames this whole act of observation in such a fascinating way. He doesn't see it as just collecting data. To him, it's a real dialogue. It's like having a spiritual conversation with the very fabric of reality, which he actually calls the greatest creator. It's all about finding truth for yourself directly. And this leads us to one of the biggest lessons you can get from the wordless book, this concept of renming, which kind of means accepting your path. Xifeng's argument is that every single living thing has its own nature, its own course. You can either accept yours, which he says leads to peace and joy, or you can fight against it, which he pretty much guarantees will only lead to anger, resentment, and a whole lot of suffering. All right, so we've got these rules for how to act, and we have this deep wisdom from the universe. But where is all this headed? What's the ultimate point? Well, according to the author, everything we've talked about is in service of achieving one single thing: complete and total freedom. He makes this incredibly bold claim. He says the highest possible goal for a human being is total freedom of mind and body. But then he hits us with this really startling question. If freedom is what we all want more than anything, why is it that literally no one, not emperors, not billionaires, not even saints, in all of human history has ever truly gotten it? And his answer is pretty provocative. He says our freedom is blocked by 8 specific things. And just look at this list. The state, money, marriage, family. He argues that the very pillars of our society, the things we're taught to build our entire lives around, are actually the walls of our prison. So after painting that pretty bleak picture, he doesn't just leave us hanging. He actually proposes a solution that's just as radical. A full-on blueprint for a completely new way to live. One designed specifically to tear down those 8 cages. He calls his solution the second home. And this isn't just a theory, it's a real-world community that he started back in 2009. And get this, it tries to operate without money, without marriage, without traditional family structures. It's basically a living experiment to prove that a life of total freedom isn't just some dream, but something that could actually work.
So here's the crucial point. For the author, this isn't just some interesting little lifestyle choice. Based on his entire life and his travels all over the globe, he has become totally convinced that this second home model is the only way forward for all of humanity. He believes it's the one and only path for us to finally get the freedom we've been searching for thousands of years. And that really brings us right back to the central challenge of Xuefeng's whole philosophy. His path to freedom demands that we let go of pretty much everything society has ever told us is important. So it leaves us with this huge, profound question to think about. What is true freedom really worth to you?